I've got a great relationship with TDP and John Emery. I think both of them are doing things this offseason to try to be the best player they can possibly be during the season because they knew that they had to make some changes. They knew there were some things they needed to work on, and I've seen both of them do that. And I've told both of them this. They had to. They both had things that I think they needed to work on, and some are big things, some are very small things. They're both extremely talented. Like when you look at both these guys, you know that they have got playmaking ability. TDP did it in 2019, right? We saw him on that national championship team have some moments. We look at the Florida game when he really breaks that game open with a long touchdown run. We've seen John Emery against Alabama hit a 54-yarder to the house, right? We know it's in there, but they've got to get more out of that position this year. And Clyde was so good in 2019, right? And Clyde was kind of the outliner because most LSU championship teams do it running back by committee. There was no committee, really. It was 92% of the time Clyde was on the field. 92%. I think that was fourth in all of college football FBS, and I think it was first in Power 5 in 2019. Okay, so I'm okay with running back by committee, but I need to see RB1. I need to see one of those two guys say, you know what, you're going to play, but this is my job. Yeah. When we break the huddle in the Rose Bowl on September the 4th, I'm going to be the first guy out there. When we break the huddle in Tuscaloosa later in the season, I'm still going to be the first guy out there, right? That's the kind of mentality that I want to see. And you've got some young guys, right? You got Goodwin, you've got Kiner who are ready to play. Now Trey Bradford has since transferred to Oklahoma, and I think that's because he probably sees the writing on the wall. Those young running backs are really good coming up, and they fit a mold. I think those guys will play. I think it's easier to transition from high school to college football at a skill position now, but they're not going to be the main guys. The main guys have to be either TDP or John Emery.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. They have all the experience in the world they need. They played a full SEC schedule last year, which not many people get to do ever in their career. So they have the experience. They know what they need to do, and they've been in those big games, especially TDP. So I think John should be the guy. That's who I would want to see step up just because he has that big play potential. He can hit his head on the goalpost from anywhere on the field. And if you get a guy like that, it puts so much pressure and a threat on the defense. So hopefully they can make those leaps and we can get another 1,000-yard rusher because it's been a couple of years. I think we need that as Tiger fans.
I think something that they both need to improve on, and this is no secret, I've talked about it before, is being comfortable catching the football. Clyde had over 50 catches in 2019. I think he set the running back record. Trust me, he lets me know every time he sees me, right? He lets me know he passed me up. That was such a tool for LSU. Mm-hmm. And if we see the spring game tape, I went back and I watched some of it yesterday because I wanted to make sure I had this right. They're going to line up and empty a lot. Mm-hmm. That is what Joe Brady did in 2019. It's what Jake Peetz is going to do in 2021. Now, sometimes you'll line up and empty. You'll come back. You want to see what the coverage is, indicators, all those type of things. But also, you've got to be able to run more than a hitch and a go. Mm-hmm. You've got to be a part of the passing game like Clyde was in 2019. And also something they did in the spring game, I don't know if they're going to specialize in this, but the running back was in the slot as well. So that tells me that it's more about concepts than who's out there as far as two-man route combinations. Hey, we've got, let's say the list is 25 two-man route combinations. You better know all 25 of them, and you better be able to run them well. Yeah. If you're in that slot, you're going to be asked to run a lot of rubs, pick plays, okay? That's what you're going to be asked to do. You better be able to sell it. If you're on the other side of that, if you're running behind the pick play, you better be able to catch it. That's where they probably need to grow the most.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's the hardest thing, probably the biggest transition from going to high school to college is pass protection and then route concepts and then just knowing what to do, reacting to zone. And sometimes you got to have a choice route. You got to have to sit between the coverage and not break left or right and run into that corner sitting in the flat. So that's all little things that they can learn. Those things aren't hard. You just need the repetitions, get in the lab, stay extra, study together, get those guys together. That's something that I need to probably do with those guys, to start getting them together. And that way I know they know and they know they know. And Coach Falk does a great job anyway, but still there's always extra stuff you can do. And I'm sure those guys are willing to do those things to get better. And
that's what kind of makes it interesting. The running back coach, Kevin Falk, who is an absolute legend, what was he really good at in the NFL?
Catching the ball at the backfield.
Right? I mean, he was like the third down back in the NFL, right? And so they're getting coached up, but it's all about being comfortable out there. It's all about trusting your skill set, right? And we know John Emery's had LASIK surgery. He had some issues, and that has since been fixed. So maybe that can be something that obviously is a positive thing for him. But it's also knowing what you have, knowing the route that you have, feeling comfortable running that route out there. Okay, if I see you and you've got a 3-step slant and I can see you going 1, 2, 3 slant, that's not comfortable.
Yeah,
that's just you running exactly what's drawn in the playbook, and it's got to be more than that. Because if it's not, then they need to take that portion out of the playbook. If you don't have a guy that can do it, you have to take that out of the playbook, and then that handcuffs your offense coordinator. Yeah. And that's the last thing that you want to do. So I think they've got to grow in that area because we've seen them have success running the football. Now, look, there's still some challenges there, right? Because, again, I'm being tough on them. One, because I have a relationship with them and I know them, and I would have that conversation if they were in this room. And two, they know how skillful they are. They know they have that ability. So that's a position that I do think a year ago was not a positive for LSU. Now, that's not all on the running backs. You got to get push up front. When we broke down the Missouri game, Missouri's running backs averaged 4.7 yards before contact.
Wow.
4.7 yards.
Yeah.
Jeremy, that's not something I ever had, right?
That's ahead of steam.
Okay. LSU was negative 0.3 in the same game. Okay, so you've got to help them out as well. Now, some of that will come with concept. Last year, it was inside, outside zone. That was all it was, right? In the spring game, we saw ISO with the tight end actually becoming a fullback and leading on the linebacker. We saw buck sweep. Yeah. I think I saw a counter. There was definitely more power. That helps out your offensive line. That helps out your running backs because if you're a one-trick pony, and it was okay in 2019 to be a one-trick pony because the best runs Clyde had, inside, outside zone. That's what he's the best at. It's not the skill set for the current group. So I'd like to see them switch it up. We've seen it in a spring game. Now you've got to translate that to September the 4th.
Yeah, I think that it's a two-edged sword with that because when you go simplistic, it's easier for the line to remember their stuff. It's easier for them to block the same guys over and over. But it's also easier for the defense to key on what you're doing. So when you open it up a little bit, you got to, obviously it's more knowledge that you got to, learn as an offense and as an offensive line, know who to block, how to block it, depending on the front that they're in. But also it keeps the defense on their toes and they don't know what's coming at them. So I think they need to balance it out. I do like the fact that they're going empty more, get those backers matched up in space and just keep the defense on their toes. That's what we did in 2019. It was hard to really pick what we were doing. Joe kept them on their heels. Clyde, jabbed them, and then, we scored a lot of points. So we got to get back to that, I think, and then it starts with the running backs.
The thing that they did in 19, they did a really nice job of because they were actually free release, 5-man protection, I think second most in the country. Mm-hmm. But what they did a really nice job of, they didn't fall into tendencies. And that's very hard when you do something the second most in the country. There was so many times, and let's take the 3rd and 17 play against Texas. The play that, I'll be honest with you, I remember more than any that season, one that I might remember more than any LSU play ever because I was right behind it. I saw it as it unfolded. And when I heard the story of how it played out, it was even more remarkable. Joe Brady called the play. He liked the concept, and obviously it worked, scored a touchdown. But Coach Insminger said, hey, let's keep Clyde in protection because he was supposed to be out on a route. He said, no, let's keep him in protection. I know Todd Orlando's going to bring this blitz. Sure enough, he brings it. Clyde picks it up, and the rest is history. So many times they did that, right? Because Texas brought the blitz thinking LSU, free release, 5-man protection. We're going to get home. And they would have. Absolutely they would have, right? But he said, hey, let's keep him in. And when you mix it up like that, now you've got to have a running back that's willing to do it. Yeah. 95% of pass protection is being willing to do it, right? You've got to have your technique. That's why Darren Sproles, to me, was the best pass protector that I'd ever seen in my life, and still to this day. And Darren Sproles is 185 pounds. Yeah. So don't tell me it's about the big back or I can't do it, he's too big. It's about technique and it's about want to. And he had both those things, and he was a master at doing that, okay? So when they do tell you you have to stay in, well, you've got to block your guy. You have to give your quarterback a chance. So there's so many things that come into play. It's way more than just being a true runner because there's plenty of guys that are just true runners. But now in college football, it's no longer 48 horn balls, toss dive. It's not the case anymore, right? That's not what you're going to run. So you have to do more than we've seen running backs here do in the past.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's a big transition that they're going to have to make, especially in the passing game. That's something that you said that you've been harping on them on. And that's something that to win a championship, that's something that I don't really remember Joe running for his life. And, getting guys, free rushers coming at him, knocking his backside off. That's the running back's job, and that's something that they're going to have to embrace and something they're going to have to believe in and really attack it, day in and day out, especially starting in training camp. So I think Emery should be the guy. He should make that big leap. I hope so, because he can hit his head on the goalpost, and hopefully he can make a big impact in the passing game too.
Now, it looks like they've asked TDP to maybe slim down a little bit, because I know he wanted to actually play bigger. I think he wanted to play bigger, but they know kind of what this offense is heading towards. So it does look like he has slimmed down to be able to be that complete running back and not just the guy that's in there first, second down.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think especially in this offense, as much empty stuff as we run, running back in the slot, trying to get those mismatches on linebackers is definitely going to be more beneficial to be a little light on your toes, be able to win those matchups, and then convert the chains a lot more.
All right, one more point before we go here. So my freshman year, I had my hand in the dirt. I was in a three-point stance doing a lot of blocking for who I still am blown away by how talented he was, Joe Adai. So I don't have this experience. You do. You had 142 carries your freshman year, 755 yards, over 5 yards a carry. So you had success. 12 touchdowns as a freshman?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Flexing. I get it. Okay, so you had a lot of success your freshman year. What was the most difficult thing, though? Because I'm asking because of the young running backs that are very talented on this team that are going to be, 3, 4, 5 maybe on the depth chart.
Yeah, the easiest part was running the ball. I think that just came natural. You find the hole, you hit it, and your natural instincts kind of take over after that. But I think for me, it's just learning the passing game, learning the pass protections, knowing when I'm supposed to be on my checkdowns, where I'm supposed to be, and getting out fast. I think that helps the quarterback so much more, because those ends are flying up the field. They're trying to get there, and you got to be that available target for them to get the ball out to.
All right, that was our LSU running back discussion, a position that I'm looking for a lot of production. I'm looking for someone to step up, and the way they're working in the offseason, just being over at the facility, seeing them kind of day in and day out, I do expect a major leap, and that will be seen hopefully September the 4th in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. All right, don't forget, we've still got Timmy B, Tim Brando set to join us at 8:30, Nicole Auerbach of The Athletic at 9 o'clock, and Playboy Marty of Barstool Sports at 9:30. Still much more to come. Don't go anywhere, OTB.